Hello, everybody. We're trying to do the independent project for chapter number 4, Excel. So I'm going to just go ahead and get started. But before everything else, I downloaded the start file, I downloaded the solution file, and I downloaded the data file. So let's get started and see. Should have done that before, not after, but let's go for it. Okay, so the first step was to enable editing. Now I'm going to import. So I'll go to Data tab to make sure we only for data from text, and I'll point to the file. Just downloaded under September 15th. Import it. I want to make sure my data is headers selected. Hit next. And yes, it's tab delimited file because it tells me here that the text file is tab delimited. So that's why we make sure that that option is checked. And then hit next. And everything looks good. Finish. And then existing worksheet A4, and I need to check this box at this date of the date model and then hit OK. Now, if you're on a Mac, your finish button will have a small tick next to it, and you want to click on that and then choose the option for A4. So as I look, just a quick glance, I see for some reason this is green and my file is blue. So I'm going to just go ahead and change the color. You shouldn't have to, but I don't know, for some reason it's not matching up. So I'm going to go do that. All right. Column H is currency. With 0 decimals. G4, sort by date oldest to newest. So as you can see, just because we formatted it as a table, it gives you a whole lot of options to do. So it sorted everything by oldest to newest. And F4, product ascending to descending. So let's go do that. So as you can notice, once you can only sort one column at a time if you did it this way. There's a different way where you can sort multiple columns at the same time, but that's out of the scope of this chapter. Now what we can do is we can filter this data. Now there's two different ways you can do the filtering. It asks you to show only contracts for September using all dates in the period. Now there's different ways to do it. If I only want September, I'll just uncheck everything else and select September, and that should do it too. Or I'll go to date filter and say all dates in the period to September. So two different ways to do it. It doesn't matter which one you choose. Edit label in A2 to display contracts. Now the original data was September through December. As you can see, this is only September, and you have other records. They're just hidden from your view. As you can see, the column numbers are highlighted in blue, and those are the row numbers are highlighted in blue. Those are the records that match the criteria you've selected, but everything else is hidden. Like row number 10 is hidden because it doesn't match your criteria, etc., etc. So let's just go ahead and change the label to contract amounts for September. That's it. Select A into H2. Multiple alignment and horizontal center across selection. Okay, good deal. Change the font size to 20 point. Done. Done. So far, so good. Now we're asked to copy the contract sheet. So now this is just the contract for September. Now I'm going to make a replica of it. move it to the end. I'm just going to call it data. That's my original data. I don't need no filters. So I'm going to go ahead and select everything, which will eliminate the filter. So it's just the date filter, which now you can see there's no filter on this. You can see an arrow. Select cells A5 and click the pivot table button. Pivot table is a cool tool in Excel where you can get aggregation, summarization of this data. So earlier in our earlier chapters, we've seen SUMIF, and we tried to calculate the sum based on the branch or a class or a course or whatever. But in this situation, we're going to do it a little differently using something called pivot table. So click pivot table button. So as you can see, the range is what it's supposed to say because we imported it from the text file, and then at that point of time, it created a data connection. So it still says 43, and verify that new worksheet is selected, and then deselect the add. So this, make sure this button is deselected and hit OK. And that's how it creates a pivot table. Right now, our pivot table is empty because we haven't chosen any data fields yet. Make the sheet pivot table. Close the queries and connections pane. I don't see that on my end, so I'm just going to move it. Okay. Now, show the product, service, and contracts using the pivot table. So, product, service. As you can see, as you're checking it, the pivot table is getting populated here. So when I do contract, it's going to give me contract. So it's going to assume that that's what you're trying to do. You're just trying to get a sum of all the accounting software and all the data fields that appear in our data. So based on these categories, it's totaling up this contract and giving it to you, which is great. But there's another way to get that information, like an average or something. So that's what we're going to try to do. We're going to move a field to the sigma. Sigma is more of a summation, aggregation. So now we have two columns with sum, but one of the columns I want it to be average. So how do we go about doing that? Let's see how we can edit the fields of the table. We can't just start typing data just like you would do on a normal Excel table. So let's see how we do that. Select C4. Now I said I want a sum, not an average. So what do? I would go to the field settings, and in the custom name, instead of sum of contract, I would say average. And show average as the calculation. So instead of sum, it's going to do average. Okay. We have to do the number format. So I'm going to go to currency. And there you go. Now we'll do the same thing with the number format. Call this total contract instead of sum of contract. I don't think total contract is the right terminology to use. That would mean the number of contracts, not the sum of the contract amounts. But okay. So currency. That's it. So the total sum dollar amount for accounting software is 20,000. The average is 2,000, and so on and so forth for all the categories. That's pretty much what your pivot table lets you do. At this point in time, you selected contract. What if you were to select say date? Maybe they'll give you a quarterly information. So depending on how you want to view your data, it's pretty much giving you different perspectives of the same data. apply the style, just like for a table, you can go apply whatever color you want. That looks like the one medium, and that's dark style. Okay, select data sheet tab, copy cell family 2. So we go to just the control C and paste and align left 16 point. So it's not, it doesn't have an alignment right now. 16. Display contract amount September to December. Look like. Now copy the data sheet and then name the copy subtotals. So I'm going to go to copy this to subtotals. Remember we did subtotals in another chapter before. Let's see a different way of doing it. So what if I wanted to get the totals by city, but I don't want to do a pivot table? There's another way to do it, and that's what we're about to do. So before we did that, we would have to make sure that this is not a table anymore. Let's sort it by city first. So all the cities are together. Okay. And now select A5, and it cannot be a table for subtotal to work. Tables won't let you do insert data in the middle of the table. So we're going to go ahead and change it to a range. So I can just find it. Let's go to data. Outline. Range, where would that be? Well, I cannot always remember. So I'm going to just go ahead to promote to range. And it says remove the query definition, continue, yes. So now this is not even a table anymore. As you can see, it looks the same colors and everything, but your filter options on your headers are gone. Earlier you had it little ticks down here, they're all gone. So this is not a table anymore. It's just a range. So let's go ahead and remove the formatting like the instructions tell us to do. No fill. Use a total command to show a sum of the contract amount. So for us to be able to do this total command, we need to set up the headers as well. And then data and outline, you'll see subtotals. When this launches, would understand what you're trying to do. So we're supposed to give a subtotal sum of the contract for each city. So at each change in the city, I want you to add the contract amounts, and that looks okay to me. And hit OK. As you can see, all the city totals are right under. As soon as there's a change in the city name, that's why we have to sort the cities in the beginning, so we could do this. So without using a pivot table, if you wanted to do it, this is how you would do it. And there's a way you can expand and collapse. And label A2. Format the sheet to landscape. Just go ahead and roll this up. Center vertical. Fit it to one page. Okay, so this is about it. Let's go to the billable hours sheet. Billable hours. So it's E4. Now, this is what a range is. When you click on each of these cells, you can see you'll see the cell name change at the top here. This is what I would call a range. Of course, the data is laid out, which looks like a table, but it's not going to act like a table. So let's see what happens when you convert a range to a table. 734 and 2. And we'll give it orange table style medium. And then my table is headed, of course it does. Yes, move on external connections. Okay. Now see how it works, how a table works. If we want to add a new column and then start typing information in there, which it says 5%, automatically treats it as a new column. It gives it, it changes the formatting and it knows exactly what you're trying to do because we formatted it as the table. So I'm going to add 5%, multiply E5, multiply D5 over 5%. So go to D5 times 5%. Earlier, in our earlier chapters, we had to literally drag and drop a formula all the way down. But because Excel knows that this is a table, it logically assumes that this is probably what you're trying to do for the whole column. So that's what it tried to do. That's the so having tables. Set cells A1 and A2 and left line. Then select A because we have a new column, our center alignment is shifted. So let's just go back and make sure. Use autofilter to sort by date. To the list. And how when you do this kind of sorting, it kind of sorts all the columns, all the rows. That should be it. So go ahead and upload a file.